Colleagues, what's up? Sneak attack. Yes, I did set up two streams because why not? And I am in the room that doesn't have any of the media assets that I set up because I'm really good at this. It doesn't even have a background. But you know what? Uh, you know, it's probably better. We're not gonna have any bells and whistles. We're just gonna run through this. And guys, I wanted to uh do the show just because there's so much uh terrible stuff going down that, and also some interesting things that I think that we need to discuss them. I keep checking to see if SAR is texting me. She is not. uh I wanted to talk about for sure what was going on uh with Nicki Minaj, who seemingly doubled down, and she went in support of Trump. And she just I don't know if you guys know, after her, I guess you can call it, failed appearance on um, Erica Kirk's town hall, in which she referred to Donald Trump as an assassin, and then made the weirdest remarks about that, seeing as that's how Erica Kirk's husband died. It was weird. She weirdly froze, and I'm like, Nicki, you're a performer. Anyway, guess what? Nicki and her fan base do not see eye to eye anymore. Because I don't know if you guys know this or not. Nicki's fan base was primarily made up of people of color, and women, and people in the LGBTQ plus family. And all those people are staunchly against Erica Kirk, and that appearance did not work out well. Now, let me see if this is loaded because I want to show you guys uh, how Nicki decided to clean things up. Let's take a look and see how it works.
Hello. Well, I don't know what to say, but I will say that I am probably the president's #1 fan. And that's not going to change. And the hate, or what people have to say, it does not affect me at all. It actually motivates me to support him more. And it's going to motivate all of us to support him more. We're not going to let them get away with bullying him and, the smear campaigns. It's not going to work, okay?
All right. Nicki, you shouldn't have, really. That was not a great look for Nicki. First of all, fur coat indoors, that's a personal choice. I've been known to wear sunglasses indoors. That's a personal choice. But the meeting of Nicki and Trump before she even went to go speak uh, was one. And don't forget, after her appearance with Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica Kirk, she promptly lost 10 million followers and deleted her Instagram. She comes out in a fur coat, and this is a body positive show. And it's your body, your choice. And I mean that in every single way. And that means if you want to get a BBL, but I don't know if it's your choice to get three of them. I don't know what was going on under the back of that coat, but it looked like it was being covered. It was covering the back of a Cadillac. I mean, I don't know what's going on there, but that coat, and she had it cinched around the waist to kind of accentuate what was going on. And again, I'm sure a lot of people find that attractive. I found it a little bit off-putting, but maybe I'm just not really feeling the direction that Nicki Minaj has been headed lately. It Once again, and it's so interesting that we're covering this story in the same week that Kanye made a pretty, it seemed like, at least sincere attempt to apologize for his past behavior. But it is, once again, work put on the shoulders of people in not only their fan base, but also the Black community, that the elevation of certain artists isn't just that, like, you make great songs. It usually means that you symbolize something to the people below. Kanye, I can speak to specifically because he was more my generation. I think Nicki Minaj, like if you're like a 27-year-old, like Nicki Minaj is kind of like your Kanye in a way. But for people like me that are in their early, mid to late 40s, it was Kanye every summer. And Kanye to explain how you were feeling during a breakup. It was Kanye feeling like the world can't stop you. It was Kanye feeling like the world is against you. He spoke to us internally, and we spoke to him externally with our ticket sales, with our downloads, and with our support of him. And once again, the people that we tasked most to speak for us turned on us seemingly inexplicably. And I think that's part of like the anger that you see and you can feel underneath the comments and the responses to Nicki, and that can be shown in protest of just deleting her, stop blocking her on Instagram, not buying tickets to her concert. With Kanye, it's if those that would make the defense for Kanye, I think would say that after his accident and after his mother passed away, he seemed like a different person. That is, if I was his defense attorney going in front of the government of the people, I would say that up until then, Kanye was a person that you loved, and he had an undiagnosed brain condition, and that caused him to act in such a wildly radical way. On top of that anger, you could say there was profound hurt with him losing his mother, seemingly out of the blue. I believe she was getting a pretty routine kind of, body. I think she was getting a tummy tuck. I don't know what that's called. But that's, usually not a procedure in which people pass away. But, that's the dangers of surgery, is that it happened. Joan Rivers, when she passed away during surgery, it was a relative. I think that was like an outpatient surgery. But anytime you put people under anesthesia, these are the things that can happen. And unfortunately, it happened to Kanye. And he went down a spiral that it seemed like he could never get out of. And he continued to double down. And as people rebuked him, he had issues with Adidas. From there, he was, making people at Adidas watch pornography. Remember those weird clips where he was like making employees of the Yeezys watch porn on his phone? He had the very public split and, separation from his kids. Then, paraded around the people that hate his perceived community the most, which was the Nick Fuenteses of the world, the Donald Trumps of the world, and was unrepentant in doing that. So I'm not here to tell you how to feel because, quite frankly, I don't know how I feel. I don't know if I would ever completely embrace Kanye again. But like I said, with me when I stopped drinking, when I would say I was going to do something and somebody was hesitant to believe that, there was a part of I told you, I talked to one of my best friends in the world, Forrest Shaw, who's been on this show before. And I'd be like, yo, what's up? Like, how is she not believing that I'm going to do this? I said I was going to do it. And he was like, look, man, you drank for a while, dog. And I mean, I wasn't a violent drunk or a mean drunk. I just was irresponsible in every way that somebody can be irresponsible. And when you're like that for years, people are just like, this is a person that cannot be trusted to follow through with what they said that they're going to do. And it takes a while, but it happened, just like Forrest said it would, but it takes a while. So if Kanye is true to what he plans to do, almost like analogous to how you would say losing weight. Right now, he is overweight with baggage that he packed himself. He packed all those bags, and he knew the airport would not let him fly with that, but he did it anyway. And now he's got to do the work, and it doesn't just come with chucking a suitcase. He's got to unpack all those bags, and that happens over time. I used the example yesterday of Michael Vick, who famously was at the pinnacle of his career, arguably the most successful and most sought after and idealized football players of that time, cover of the John Madden football game, the face of the NFL, America's most popular league. He gets taken down because they were fighting, doing illegal dog fighting rings in his home, and he went to jail. He paid the price. People were out on the streets calling for him to be killed. I thought that was a little bit overboard. And I also think if you ever watch that documentary, Michael Vick, there are racial overtones with the way that he was treated. Just as not even just as somebody that had committed a crime, but there were people in the streets with signs and in front of the courthouse saying that he should be hung for that. But luckily, that didn't happen because at least this used to be America. And he went and he served his time and he came out. And instead of getting down with the same behavior, becoming a recluse like I would have, I'd have been like, well, F y'all then. He did the opposite. He went on speaking tours, talking to people about animal rights. He became a huge advocate in the animal rights community and spoke for years about that. And after a while, guess what? People forgot what he went to jail for, and people started seeing the man that he is now. And quite frankly, he's a fantastic human being. We'll always wonder what would have happened had he not spent the peak of his powers in prison. But I'm really happy that whatever happened, he seems to be a better man for it. I'm not saying that he need to be incarcerated, but sometimes you need a wake-up call in your life, and sometimes that wake-up call doesn't look like how you want it to or how you think it will. But either way, Michael Vick took tragedy and transformed his life and gave voice to the voiceless. And shout out to that. And quite frankly, Kanye is going to have to do exactly that. Kanye West is going to have to, over time, over years, yes, maybe be a mental health advocate, but also he needs to denounce everybody that he brought along to the party and gave front and center stage to lend your fame to somebody like Milo Yiannopoulos, to lend your fame to somebody like Nick Fuentes, who was an avowed Nazi at that time, and as far as I know, still is. You got some work to do to get back in the good graces of the public. Now, you guys will have to excuse me a little bit because I do want to upload this clip, and I'll continue to talk as I do. Normally, I have these uploaded, but what had happened was I had an appointment with what do you call those? A FaceTime visit with my physician. I've been having a bitch of a time getting my Adderall, and to the point where we had to have a second effing conversation. She's been cool. Shout out to Dr. Turner, but it did kind of highlight to me, and I don't want to get off subject here, but when you hear that, Black women have I believe it's almost 3 times as high mortality rate when giving birth, that Black people are continuously given less pain medication in the hospital. It's a real thing. It's a real bitch to just get your medication. I am not a problem patient. I've never had a drug history. I've never had any issues where I would be red flagged, but yet I haven't been given my medication in the better part of a month. Hopefully that will end today. But it's just because when I would get a text, your prescriptions here get picked up. I drive a half hour one way across town and they'd be like, I don't know what you're doing here. You're not ready. And it's such an L at all times. And I don't know how many of you colleagues have people that you know and love that live overseas, but I remember I had to go to the doctor one time when I was shooting I shot 100 episodes of a show on the BBC British Broadcast Communications. I don't know. But yeah, I had to go to the doctor over there in Scotland. And it's so weird when you leave the doctor's office and you just walk out. I felt like the same way you would feel if you just finished your meal at a restaurant, just walked out. I'm like, where's the lady behind the glass and the Visa credit card machine? You just walk out and I'm like, well, what's in it for you guys? You know what will be in it for them? Having a healthy country. That's what some of these countries feels like. Having a healthy country overall helps make your country sustainable, keeps the people happy, and keeps you in power, because everybody wants to be in power, but not in this country. It is, even when you're trying to pay, they won't let you pay. Don't you guys wonder like how things would be different if we had just taken the money that we gave Argentina, which is 40 billion, the money that we've given ICE, that makes them, the budget of ICE makes them the third highest funded, I don't know, I'll call it military outlet in the world, like behind China and Russia. Like that's how big ICE is. Like their budget dwarfs like the FBI, CIA, Coast Guard. It dwarfs them all combined. That's how much money we gave ICE. And then on top of that, the 40 million that Melania was given by Amazon to make her documentary Melania, which I would like to talk about. We can't play the trailer because they keep taking that video down. Guys, I actually did some work, and I still write things down because I'm 500 years old, but I wanted to get these right. Now, the movie is set to, the documentary, Melania, is set to premiere this weekend. Get your tickets now because trust me, they are available, very available. They did kind of a pre-screening weekend, and where better to do that, where you would assume Melania's fan base is holding it down strong in these streets. Palm Beach, that's right, the Palm Royal movie theater debuted Melania's documentary last weekend, and they had a total of 1770 tickets were available, and they sold 234. 13% went to go see Melania's in her hometown. I would hope if a documentary was made about me and I premiered it in Denver or Cleveland or places that I call home and have lived a substantial amount of time, I could at least get 100 people I know to show up. I mean, the fact that it's not doing well, you can tell by those numbers. But if you go overseas to the UK, they're doing a little bit worse because Melania sold. And I want to know if any of you guys have a guess about how many tickets that New York City, 0 tickets sold. Well, I guess the UK is selling 100% more tickets than than New York City, Julia, because in the UK she sold 1. All right, that is like a statistician's dream, is to just, what do they say? Figures don't lie, but liars figure. They could just be like, look, over in the UK, we've seen an 100% jump in ticket sales as what we've seen in New York City. And for as much as we may laugh and people say, boy, we really stuck it to her, did we? Because of that 40, Melania pocketed $30 million. So we got 1 confirmed ticket sold in New York. I'm going to go with Julia on this one. She's always trustworthy. I'm going to go with what the Palm Beach Recorder said, that they sold 234. So that's 235 tickets plus the UK ticket, 236. So for 236 tickets sold, she got $30 million. I'll say that again. For 236 tickets sold, she got $30 million. When I was in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, lovely, did 2 super fun shows there, including comedy at the top of a ski lodge. I sold for that one show, at last I had heard, it probably went up because I'm super popular, but we'll go with the number I heard, 132 tickets. And according to that math, I should have pocketed about half of what Melania did. So they kind of ripped me off, but I walked away with 15 million from that show. I did not. So if we're not basing this on ticket sales, then what is this about? What is all this? Do you guys look at this the same way we looked at CBS bending the knee and giving that, just giving into the Trump administration and paying, they were accused of editing one of his speeches. And even though they would have probably won that lawsuit, they just gave him the money. Stephen Colbert said it was a bribe. Stephen Colbert is now announcing, I believe he announced the final date for a show because of said joke, accusing his bosses, I believe credibly, of taking a bribe. And there's a lot of different ways to bribe people. I think that the way that we've always seen it is, somebody walks in with a silver briefcase and hands it to somebody and says, now do this for me. That's one way. You can bribe people by paying them for movies that no one's going to see. You can bribe people by giving them an exorbitant amount of money to speak at your company's annual whatever. If you look at the speaking tours that a lot of former politicians and even current politicians go on, when you look at what they're getting paid, it's staggering. It'll be, this is an example, but it'll be like Lauren Boebert got $400,000 to speak at, some railway convention. You're like, what? That ain't got nothing to do. There's nothing you can say in 35, 40, 45, 50 minutes of a prepared speech that could be worth $500,000 to a company. But what it does mean is that insert powerful politician's name here remembers that old Al Jackson Incorporated gave you $500,000 to come stay at a nice hotel and mail in a speech. And trust me, as somebody that's done a lot of shows, they're not always Carnegie Hall. Sometimes you do it just for the money. I guarantee you, these are not speeches that are bringing people to tears. They're just, as we as Americans stand on the precipice of history. I mean, she's reading a speech that she will read tomorrow night in Oklahoma City and the next night in Dayton, Ohio. But you can give these people large amounts of money and it doesn't look weird because maybe you're just a big fan of that congressman or that congressperson or senator. But a lot of times I think that there may be some bribery going on. So, are we having the last laugh by saying, haha, you didn't sell any tickets? Or is Melania having the last laugh because she was like, this wasn't about tickets? This has not, what else could we really learn about Melania? I mean, we could learn more about her if she was, I don't know, at the White House. Could y'all imagine if Michelle Obama didn't live at the White House? How much fun they would have with another broken black home. And it's like, every time you see Melania, and we did recently see her, and you're right, Julia, she doesn't care. She wore the jacket. I don't care. Where did she wear that to? She was going to like some disaster site or some shooting or something. And remember, she had this to Trump 1.0. She wore a jacket that said, I don't care or something ridiculous. I forgot what it was. But yeah, Melania, yeah, you can not care, but you could also like fake it, right? Like you can be there at the White House. I'm assuming that they'll give you some nice accommodations. She couldn't be bothered. You never see her. And it's never questioned. We did see her recently as she came and gave a speech that no one was asking for, basically saying that there must be peace in Minnesota, but then, of course, quickly told the protesters that they need to protest peacefully. And I don't think those are the problems that we've been seeing coming out of Minneapolis, but who knows? I'm sure Melania and I's YouTube feed algorithm are wildly different. I don't know how she's gotten away with this for this long, especially when it seems like there's a connection with Jeffrey Epstein, saying is that he knew her before she knew Trump. There's just a lot of things. Remember, who's the author, Wolf? She said she was going to sue him for $1 billion. Like Austin Powers, she said he was going to sue him for $1 billion for implying that she had connections to Epstein. But with that lawsuit comes discovery. And discovery means we're going to open up all those books. And Melania was like, man, I got to make this documentary, dog. You lucky. I was about to get you, though. Like, remember when Trump sued was it the Wall Street Journal for releasing his the birthday card? Remember how long ago that was with that creepy ass birthday card that was like, "We've been friends for a long time, Jeffrey. We're men that have things in common. Secrets we'll take to the grave." I'm like, I can't believe that you guys are real. My friends and I today on the group chat talked for an hour. Grown men, families, most of us at work, talking about the movie Boomerang. That's what me and my friends say to each other. But apparently, Trump and Jeffrey. I'm gonna read the Trump birthday card because that was remember he said he was going to sue the Wall Street Journal for, was it a billion? They always come with these insane. That's why I'm like, it can't be a billion twice. But I think or like $10 billion. He was going to sue them, and then he realized that came with discovery, and then we have not heard one word about said um, lawsuit. So let's see, Trump birthday card. Yep. And also, there's another thing I want to show you guys about how TikTok has changed too. Super interesting. Okay. God, I feel dirty just oh, what a dirt bag. Okay. There must be more to life than having everything, Donald. Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is. First of all, you, Jeffrey, nor will I, since I also know what that is. Donald, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, yes, we do, come to think about it. Pick it up, fellas. Jesus, this is boring. I've never heard creeps be this boring. Donald, enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? First of all, that's nothing to notice. You would never say that to a human. As a matter of fact, Jeffrey, it was clear to me the last time I saw you, eye is undercased. Come on. Donald, what does it say? Oh, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. And that's it's weirdly reminiscent of the card that I wrote my dad on his 50th birthday. Uh, when have you ever? First of all, that kind of throws the idea of a secret out. As if I wrote, you know, ha- happy birthday, Shelly, and also let's keep everything we know on the low. Like, you just don't need to say that. You just say happy birthday. You don't need to get. They're such creeps, and I think it's kind of like you ever been to a sporting event and it's dominated by the home team, and you're representing the visiting team, and you see one other person like across the concourse getting a hot dog that's got on the same jersey as you do, and you beeline and you're like, I'm a fan too. I think that's how creepy possible PDF files feel when they find another one. They're just like, oh, another one of me. Think about like all these things that are inside of you, all the crimes you've committed, all the disgusting, gross stuff that you're super proud of. And now you can brag about it with somebody that also shares your interests. I mean, it's gross to think about, but it does kind of explain why, in a situation where it would kind of behoove you to keep that on the low, they couldn't do it. So let's move on. We're about halfway through, and the reason that I wanted, let me just be honest, I am dragging ass and getting to this part because I'm worried it might make me cry. I don't think it will, but I'm warning y'all. You've been warned, because stories are coming out about other people dying because of ICE detentions, and they're not the sensational kind of deaths that garner a lot of attention. Um, they're the kind of deaths that happen because of a detainment, because somebody's caregiver is no longer around or they can't get their medicine. So I wanted to talk about this a little bit because what I've been hearing out of Minnesota is that the firing of Greg Bovino was really just kind of like a fake out by this administration to get people to say, I think things are kind of dying down in Minnesota. Let's get ready for the Super Bowl now. I'll make some dip. I don't think that that's what's going on. They're bringing in Tom Homan, but the violence that is happening there is ramping up. And what you guys may or may not have noticed, you guys are very astute viewers of the news, so you probably did recognize it. But now they're turning the violence on the people filming them. Before it was people filming, they would yell at somebody that was filming them, but they would go after said person that was in their crosshairs. But now, and there was a video, I'm telling you, I had all this loaded on my other feed, but there was a video and there's a woman, this is like a week ago, maybe like last Friday, this woman's videoing an ICE officer doing something shitty. And he goes, get out of here. And she goes, it's my right to film. And he goes, she goes, why are you filming me? And he goes, because now we have you in a database. And he kind of let that slip out that I believe this isn't confirmed, but I would have it on strong authority that they are gathering a database of people that are protesting against them. And I'm sorry, I meant to block that person, and I highlighted them. But yeah, they've been finding out who's protesting and highlighting them and actually sending messages to people. I will read. I tried to have it. Maybe I could put on maybe a vertical feed, but I'll read what this said. This is from John Favreau. He's from that Pod Save America. Him and those guys were all part of Obama's speechwriters, and they've been, in the podcast space for about 10, 15 years now. But he writes that they say, this is a warning. We know you live right here. ICE agents in Maine are now showing up at the homes of U.S. citizens to intimidate them. Maine federal officials have started showing up and threatening arrests, some of them masks, and being told not to follow them. This is based on their large-scale immigration enforcement, and they're showing up. There's a woman in Maine who said officers came to her home. Sorry, I got to make this bigger. And she said, then someone who she believes to be an immigration agent showed up, and there were 3 other cars that barricaded the street. It was one of the scariest things that ever happened to me. This is a warning, the agent told her. We know you live right here. She called 911 and told the dispatcher what happened, and she said that they were federal agents. And I guess the woman goes on to say she plans to continue her efforts, but because the agents know where she lives, she'll be recording from a safe distance. Where I think I would say probably at least for the last 30 years of my life, we have been inundated with the know your rights people, the 2A people, when you want to say something really terrible about somebody else, the freedom of speech people. Where are those people now? Where are the don't tread on me? Where are the small government people? Back in my day, 100 years ago, that was the entire pitch of Republicans and why they didn't want to fund after school programs and why they didn't want to feed poor kids and why they wanted to keep FEMA underfunded. They were like, we want a small government. States, you guys figure it out. And yet now the federal government is at your door saying, I know where you live. That's like the way a Netflix series starts about a creepy boyfriend. I know where you live. Who are you? That is it. It's interesting because I do listen to a lot of people that are talking about where things are headed, and what they were saying with a lot of broadcasts I listened to, even like last year, 2 years ago, that I thought were a little bit kind of far-fetched, is what they were saying is they use kind of the same tactics that the mafia used, and that's why the mafia has it's still around, because their tactics are very similar. You threaten people and you also blackmail people. Jeffrey E. That's interesting. It just seems like when you when you think about what's happening, the open threats, how if I put like if we did the Pepsi challenge and we said who said that, the leader of a high end Mexican cartel, the U.S. government, or a member of the Sicilian mob, which one of those? It could be all three at this point, and that's the incredible thing is that the distance and the space between our government and their tactics, their scare tactics, and what is going on is almost indistinguishable from what the mafia has been used and done to extort. What do they do if they want to take over, a block? They start breaking windows and say, "Hey, unless you guys give us $100 a week, you're going to be cleaning up a lot of glass." What did they do in Minnesota? They came there, they tried to incite violence, and when the Minnesotans wouldn't comply, they ramped up that violence. They ramped up the violence to the point where we saw 2 people killed that we know of. We saw many other people assaulted. Again, talking about our Bill of Rights, freedom of assembly, freedom of the press. People are throwing, smoke bombs and tear gassing and pepper spraying members of the press. Even in full blown world wars, you look at things that were happening in Vietnam, there would still be a little Jeep that said press all over it. And even though both sides were trying to kill each other, and definitely a lot of reporters have been killed in skirmishes, but for the most part, both sides agree that the press needs to be there to document. Anytime people are not allowed to document, something shady is going on. So we've had attacks on almost every single one of our rights that we were all so sure up until a couple months ago that we still had in our back pocket. George Carlin had a great bit, and it's sad that it's so relevant and it was so omnipotent of him to say, but he was just saying your rights aren't rights, your rights are privileges. And he was like, if you don't believe me, look up Japanese Americans in 1943, right when they needed their rights the most. The government said right this way and put them into internment camps. It seems like when we need our rights, we don't have them. It seems like they're just there to allow people to do the really nasty stuff that they want to do. But when citizens want to actually use them, when citizens say, I don't agree to be unlawfully searched, when citizens say, I don't allow you to say that you have an administrative warrant and that you can come into my house and like what happened to a judicial warrant? Every episode of Law and Order is Ice-T and somebody else going to see the judge. The judge always has their robe off. They got the suspenders and they're like pissed that they even have to have this conversation. They're like, what do you want, detective? And he's like, I want to go check out Jackson's house. And they're like, well, you need probable cause. I'm not going to sign my name to this warrant. And they have to go back and forth. And finally, the judge goes, 3 days or you're in some trouble. I don't know what kind of trouble police get in. But that eats up 10 minutes every show. You got to go get the warrant. That's what The Wire was about. Getting warrants to be able to legally wiretap so that even if you did get something that seemed incriminating, it would be admissible in court because you had a legal warrant to get it. But we just blew past that. Now you just say you have an administrative warrant. My girlfriend and I live in a condo. They have an administration here. Can they issue an administrative warrant? You just come back and just some dude's in the shower. Hey, I gave myself an administrative warrant. You got great water pressure in here. It's illegal. And I don't see the government doing anything. I don't hear Democrats, not that you would. What are Democrats there? I've always said that Democrats are not trying, but can they try to look like they're trying? I think that's fair. I think that's what we should do. We should get Democrats to promise us in this next election that they're going to try to look like they're trying. I don't see Cory Booker. I ain't seen him. Hakeem Jeffries, where he at? Chuck Schumer, who? You would think if you were a Democrat, you would say, wow, my opponents seem to really have their ass in a vice right now. I don't even know if that's a turn of phrase, but it should be. Maybe this is an opportune moment to talk to the whole country about what our platform is. To say if you vote for us, this won't happen. But we haven't heard from them. Now, I think that they're doing a little math that saying nothing is better than, yeah, Jag, they are goody two shoes. And look, I think that was part of their appeal back in the day. Remember Cory Booker was like, I'm the senator that wears Chuck Converse. And like, I know who Outcast is. Democrats are past all that, dog. We don't care that you also like lattes and that you support the LGBTQ. We don't care about that, because when it's time to really support them with your position of supreme authority in this country, we hear nothing. We hear nothing. I see regular Americans like myself out there protesting, out there standing up, being advocates. Don't see you. Don't see y'all. And so I don't know. I think the Democrats' plan is to just be quiet and just hope that they win. And I think that they might let me upload this and I'll continue to talk. But I do want this to lead us into another story about why I think that we might still, why we're still seeing the turn up and the escalation of violence in Minneapolis, and why we may have been faked out in terms of them saying, you know what, we're gonna fire Greg Bovino and really just get some peace in there. I don't think that that's what they're going after. What they're going after is what's going on in Virginia. I'll just read it as it uploads. I'm so annoyed. This is a new iPhone. I know you guys say you're worried about my electronics, and quite frankly, I am too. Look at this mic. I was going to call this show Tiny Mic, but I felt like that might be perceived as something else, like I was admitting something. And I'm very pleased. I'm fine. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, my microphone failed. And in order to be heard a little bit better, I got this tiny mic, but then I can't use my headphones. So I don't know. I'm going to fix it all this weekend. But while I'm doing that, and this will upload, I don't care. Keep saying failed. You can't stop me. I'll read what I'm sending over to you guys. And basically, there was a special election held in Virginia, and it was, let's see. All right, I'm gonna quit this for now because I'm really pissed. It was for State House District 17, Garrett McGuire, the Democrat, versus Christopher Cardiff, which sounds like one of those labels that you only find on clothing at TJ Maxx, where it's like, oh, it's a nice shirt. What is this? Is that a polo? No, it's Christopher Cardiff. But either way, first of all, shout out TJ Maxx. I'm more of a Marshalls guy. And if we want to get 100% with it, especially when I was still doing DBL, Nordstrom Rack. I used to like going to Nordstrom Rack just because they would, every once in a while, you just find a blazer and you'd be like, this is $26. And yeah, it was. Nordstrom Rack making average folks feel fancy. Well, Garrett McGuire going against Christopher Cardiff, the Republican, in the special election. Garrett McGuire won 78.2% to 21.8%. Of Virginia, in Virginia, a Republican candidate losing by almost 60 percentage points. That's what they're scared of. And that's why Kristi Noem, Ice Barbie, as a lot of people like to call her, went on television last week and said, hey, we'll pull out of Minneapolis. But just like the mafia, you got to give us something. And y'all know what they wanted? They wanted them voter rolls. Why would you want that? Why would you want that? I think you want those voter rolls so you can do a little bit of fudging with the numbers, because it's very hard to fudge 78 to 21. That's like a girls' high school basketball game that should have never been played. I don't know if I've ever seen that crazy of a margin. I'm sure there are some super blood red Trump districts, that probably went that way. But in Virginia, that's unheard of. And I think that they know that the midterms are going to be a blue tsunami, and they're trying to get ahead of that. And since they couldn't entice Minneapolis into a fight, because Minneapolis had already been through this with George Floyd and knew what the government was going to do if they started breaking windows, knew what the government was going to do if they started looting. They were like, oh, we're just going to be in these streets. And now guess what? You can't be in the streets. Well, we'll go home. Well, we're going to follow you home. Well, I'll just stay at home. Well, we're going to send you messages saying we know where you live. This is the mafia. Nothing that you do is okay with them. Nothing with them is legal. And nobody's going to do anything because a lot of times when it pertains to the mafia, what do you always see in all these movies like Goodfellas? The cops on the take too. And when nobody seems to be in control, it gives people reason to be scared, but also reason to stick together and rise up. And I think that that's what this administration did not see coming. They didn't see Minnesota doing this. They didn't see Minnesota out on the streets. I just heard today that Alex Peretti, who was, in my eyes, murdered. That's my opinion. I have to say that kind of stuff, so I don't take this down. Murdered by ICE last week. That a few weeks prior to that, he had his ribs broken by ICE. And he still came back out there, and he died standing in front of a woman who had been shoved to the ground. No one even, because we talk about the Peretti shooting as we should, everybody's like, well, and this was always the narrative when we saw a police officer shoot an unarmed black man. Trust me, there's a period of DBL where we're doing these stories every couple of weeks, sometimes twice a week. And everybody that was pro-police will say, well, you didn't see what led up to the shooting, so you don't know what he was doing. That was always the narrative. Like you turned the camera on too soon. But we did see, because there were a lot of people recording what happened with Alex Peretti. And before we got to the murder, what we saw was Alex Peretti filming the ICE people from a safe distance, along with two other women. The ICE agents walked over to one of the women, shoved her to the ground with two hands. Like, imagine that. Just the act of that. Broad daylight in the middle of a major metropolitan city, shoved her to the ground. When she got back up, Peretti tried to stand between her and the ICE agents. They pepper sprayed her. They pepper sprayed him. He turned his head, and they pepper sprayed him again. And we all know what went on after that. What no one else talks about the fact that, like, when he was down on the ground before he was shot by what we learned today, two different ICE officers, is that he was being pistol whipped either with a pistol or with a Maglite flashlight. Those flashlights are not the flashlights, the ones that the cops have are not flashlights for when you have water running in the basement. Those are flashlights that are mostly metal backed with a light on the end of it. And no one ever even spoke on that. There was just, while they were holding him down, there was one officer that hit him in the head at least 4 or 5 times with a Maglite before two other guys shot him. Guys, this cannot go on. And I really wonder where this is headed, because if they don't get the voter rolls, I don't think that they're going to pull out of Minneapolis, because I don't think that they can, because pulling out of Minneapolis does two things. One, it makes them have to go back to the lab with not a lot of time on the clock and figure out how they're going to rig this election, because they're all not only going to be voted out of office, that's almost a given. A lot of them have to know. And Steve Bannon said it at that, I don't know, it was a Turning Point USA conference, one of those weird conferences where you probably stand in the hotel and you're like, why is the vibe in the bar so weird? Because there's a conference like that going on in it. Steve Bannon goes, folks, we need to get serious, or some people in this room are going to jail, including me. Remember he said that? Kristi Noem has a looming impeachment. And so I think that not only can they not let that happen, but they also cannot allow Minneapolis to be seen as a successful defense of your city, because that is now what? The blueprint for other cities to defend themselves. They have to be in Minneapolis for the long game. And the way that you do that is they realize that they're losing the war on optics. The war on optics is because we can see everybody doing shady shit from 5 different angles. sometimes some of these ICE brutalities that we're seeing have more angles than a football game. There are people from everywhere, from shop windows, from right outside, from both sides. You have people everywhere, and they can't have that. So this is a pivot, and their pivot is the best way to stop the optics and win the optics war is by having a whole lot less cameras out there. And the way that you do that is you start throwing smoke bombs at the press, and you start following kindergarten teachers home and blocking off their street. Can you imagine how terrifying that would be if there's ICE cars blocking off both sides of your street, like there's about to be a effing street fair, and they're saying, "We know you live here." Who is we? That man is masked. So now some man that you don't know, and who knows who's in that house, a kid, whatever. They know that. So I think that we sadly are not going to see the end of the ICE occupation in Minneapolis. I tease this, and I do want to get to it. And again, I don't want to use the word tease because this isn't something uh, to parade around for views. This truly broke my heart when I read it. And like I said earlier, there are now accounts coming out of people that have died not directly because of ICE, but because caregivers that were taking care of people or were detained by ICE, or ICE detained them and did not allow them to get their medication. And this one says, and while I'm talking, I'm gonna get this video, and I'm gonna post it after I read what I've read. If this is gonna be nice to me and let me airdrop this. I don't know what's going on with my Mac today. Okay, let's get to it. All right. Disabled man dies after ICE detains his father and his caregiver. And I'm going to try and pronounce this man's name to the best I can. No disrespect. Wael Tarabishi, age 30, passed over the weekend of complications from Pompe disease. I remember studying that in graduate school, and I believe, colleagues, please look this up, that it was called Pompe disease because it eventually causes a rigidity to the muscles, almost like the way that they found the lost people of Pompeii after the volcano exploded. I may be wrong. I'm trying to dig back in 20 years of grad school, but I think a rare condition, and they don't explain what it is. Pompe disease is a rare condition that required constant medical care. The family is calling for the release of the father and the caregiver, Mar Tarabishi, Maher, Mar Tarabishi, to attend his son's funeral. Diagnosed with Pompe disease at the age of 4, doctors said that Wael would only live 5 or 10 more years. Instead, he thrived in the care of his father. After Mar's detention, Wael experienced a number of health scares. In an interview with Journal Judy for BT News in November, Wael said medical professionals often relied on his father to understand his condition. Even sometimes doctors would ask him, "What should we do?" My father is my hero, my hope, my miracle, my motivation, my safe place, my sanity, my best friend, my only friend. As long as he's with me, nothing will happen to me. As long as I'm with him, nothing else matters. Not a single person knows more about my condition than him, Wael told BT News. His father, 62, Mar, was detained by ICE last October when he appeared at the Dallas ICE office for a scheduled appointment. The Department of Homeland Security has accused Tarabishi of, the Department of Homeland Security has accused Tarabishi of being a terrorist in connection with the Palestinian Liberation Network, the PLO, a claim the family denies. So yeah, that's so that kid died, and even though he was 30, I'm going to call him a kid. And even though technology is working against me, I'm going to see if I can get this to show on the screen. This is YL and his father. Let's see if is it better closer. Yeah, there we go. Sometimes technology can't get in the way of what we need to see. So they took the father away, and that man seen underneath passed shortly after that. Another screenshot that I took, and this is from Roger Parloff. This is his Twitter. It says in an explosive Washington Post article, since July, DHS has fired shots at 16 people, hit 10, including 4 U.S. citizens. 10 victims have been charged with 4. So 10 people, they were charged, but 4 cases were later dismissed. So that's good. So the other 6 people they shot are still facing charges, and no agents have been charged. So that's awesome. The Senate Judiciary Democrats has confirmed that, and again, these are names I'm going to struggle to pronounce. Adenith Dene Reyes Alvarez has died in government custody. She looks to be maybe a 6-year-old girl. She had sickle cell and congenital heart disease, and couldn't access timely and adequate medical care. And this is another person who is no longer on this planet. Our government made sure that she's not here anymore. And anybody that knows anything about sickle cell gets its name just because I remember this from grad school. You think about blood cells, red blood cells as being circular, which you should. But with this disease that affects mostly people of color, Black people, sickle cell, the blood cells sickle, so they look like a sickle, like one of those like that piece of farming equipment, the thing the Grim Reaper has, or like almost like a crescent moon. And because the blood cells are no longer circular and have pointy edges, they're extremely painful as they move through your system. And so this little girl probably died in pain. Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll leave it at that. I was going to get to the really quickly the idea that Rob Schneider got divorced. Again, his wife has filed for divorce. She was of Mexican descent, and Rob Schneider, famous for being on SNL, and then famous for Deuce Bigelow, Rob Gigolo, or whatever that movie was, Male Gigolo. And Brandon, thank you for saying it. Every time I see that word, I'm very scared to say it. A synth. What is that? Whatever the Grim Reaper had. Brandon's getting all fancy on me with actual words. That's not what this place is for, Brandon. It's for me to talk around things I don't know. Thank you. A sick. Now I'm gonna have to go to Google Pronounce and figure that out. Yes, he got divorced for the 3rd time. His wife was Mexican, and he was an avowed Trump supporter. And I don't know if you guys remember, a couple of years ago, Rob Schneider came out. Maybe we covered it on DBL. His daughter disavowed and said that she wanted no contact with him. And I was just like, maybe it's you, Rob. Maybe at some point you do a little internal investigation, as the cops would say. Is it all 3 women that you cared enough about to put a ring on it, and your daughter, or is it you? And maybe that's the fundamental issue that we see with a lot of people that support regimes like the ones that are in control now, is that it's always everybody else's fault. It's always immigrants' fault. It's always, the women, wanting too much or their rights or something. It's never them. And I think because of that, Rob's house is going to be real quiet. And maybe that quiet will give you a chance to do some self-reflection. And it's something we've all had to do at some point. Rob, I think I probably worked with you once. Maybe we did some terrible show in West Palm Beach together. But yeah, it's yes, his daughter does hate him and says that he's an anti-LGBTQ plus racist. Well, I believe that's what his wife said as well. And it is a weird thing that you look at JD Vance, which you could say all those things about, and he has you know a wife that is not from this country, a brown wife, we'll just say that. They said that the murderer of Renee Good was married to a brown woman. You look at uh, what's Rob Schneider, he's married to a Mexican woman. And it's just like so interesting. And I'm sure there's some psychology behind why the most rightest of right-leaning men uh, don't immediately go after. You would think they would all be married to the Melania Trumps, kind of the cold face of the right regime, just protesters. Be respectful. Like you would think they'd all have kind of women like that, but they don't. And I wonder why. And I don't know, but it seems to be a theme. What I did hear once, and I just heard this. They were interviewing this guy that had studied a lot of men that were in the MAGA movement, and what they were saying. Oh, Mitch McConnell married to an Asian woman. Yeah, it's so weird. And you know what they were saying was, and what I've said on this show before, and when I say I've said it, I read a book about how misogyny leads into racism. I remember reading that during the George Floyd flare up that we had in Minneapolis. And what they were saying is the way that they recruit people into being into MAGA or right leaning outfits is these are men that are lonely men, and they are not finding white women that find them attractive. And so the way that they find these men is they say, hey, the reason that you're not finding the perfect white woman to be your mate is because first of all, these women don't know how to respect an upstanding, hardworking white man. And this is why we need to go. And that's why you see the anger and the veracity and like how like the hatred that you hear coming out of their voice. I saw a clip yesterday from a man telling a protester, if you don't lower your voice, I'll erase your voice. Like that's not just somebody doing their job. There's anger. And that's how you recruit these men. And these men often end up marrying, seems like wonderful women from other parts of the world, from other ethnicities. Uh, JD Vance's wife is like a highly accomplished woman, you know, but still, and Rob Schneider's wife was gorgeous, and she was an on-air news anchor of some sort. And I don't know how they meet. I don't know what dating app that is. But is she pregnant? C-Dog, C-Dog, who is always on top of stuff. Yes, the domineering control. I could see that, bro. There's also a lot of colonialism at work there as well. And if JD Vance's wife is pregnant, that's going to be so interesting, because didn't it seem like for a long time JD Vance was priming the pump to get rid of his wife and his brown kids? He never really defended them, no matter what their base said, and flip her for Erica Kirk, the same way like an NBA team would flip a first round draft pick for 2 second round draft picks. Like I just thought I thought he was getting ready to get rid of her. I wonder how he feels about that, because obviously he is the incumbent and it looks like he will be the face of MAGA moving forward, depending on when. Yeah, see, I thought he was going to get with Erica Kirk. Remember that weird ass hug where she grabbed him on the back of the neck? See, dog, I let SAR see some girl hug me and skin tight leather pants and grip the back of my neck like she's holding up a chalice and see if we're not talking about that on the way home. Yeah, and that's why I said, D-Blay, that Jonathan Ross is married to an Asian woman. I didn't know she was Asian, but I knew she was brown. There is something psychological going on. But anyway, before I get off the JD Vance thing, I did think it was interesting because what he's going to run into is no matter how conservative you espouse to be, you can't go into some of these districts with a brown wife and 4 brown kids and a brown newborn talking about we about to take our country back. They'd be like, whose country, dog? Whose country? So I don't know how JD Vance is going to square that. That's not something that he will have to deal with now. But if he plans to be the face of whatever this MAGA movement looks like 2.0, he's going to have to figure it out. I don't know. Erica Kirk, see, she's backed into a corner because she can get pregnant, Amy Higgins, because Erica Kirk has to continue to grieve, which I'm assuming that she is. What? Don't you all go on grieving tours? That includes pyrotechnics? That's what I did when my father passed away. I was like, my dad died. Called the Air Force to do a flyover at my next comedy show. I'm going to show everybody how sad I am. Moving on. Erica Kirk is still grieving. And because she represents white Christian nationalism, she has to at least pretend that, you know, she's gone about the grieving stage and given that enough time. And that clock might have been reset after the leather pants and, you know, the JD Vance hug. And so, like, she's probably got at least another year to wait before she announces that she's seeing a good Christian man. They then have to wait probably a year of courtship that they'll have to put out over the internet, which will be embarrassing and weird. I just feel a lot of like pre-staged Ferris wheel rides where like he's feeding her cotton candy while she reads the Bible. But yeah, that's definitely coming. But that's like 2 years out. She can't do that now. She can't come up pregnant, a single mom, and be wearing a cross and be the face of female Christianity, hard right female Christianity. So she almost can't do it. So I don't know. I mean, maybe JD Vance just gets up and when they're booing and they're like, "Oh, boo, you got a brown wife," he'll just be like, "Hey, half y'all do too. I saw the parking lot. Shut up." And they'd be like, "All right, dog." Because they all do. I don't know. It's like such a weird constituency of avowed racists that hate anybody brown, hard right-leaning people that hate people that are brown, that are married to brown people, and you know, then a weird collection of the Nicki Minaj's of the world. Gloria Gaynor. Remember we saw her at the White House there, and everybody's like, "Oh no, come on." So yeah, and then just the rando. So I don't understand, but it is a big tent, and underneath it is podcasters and athletes and you know, Congress people, you know, news and just quite frankly, news outlets. And I wanted to talk about this. I have to go pick up Lamb in a second, but I am going to. I'm not going to try and upload anything anymore because I'm going to fight my laptop if I do. But I sent this picture, and it was it's a it's a black creator. She's on YouTube, and her name is JS Cassidy. Is that the? Yeah, I think that's it. And I'll get her exact name so we can shout her out. And her thing, her name is JS Candid, J.S. Candid, and she took a screenshot of her TikTok. And I don't care. We're taking it back. We're doing it old school style. If you guys notice there, what she has circled is 0 views. Do you guys see the zeros there? I know this is bootleg. This is how we do. This is how we do. Okay. Yeah. So look at those 2 zeros. The other TikToks that she has are 6,000. The one after that, 2,200. The next one looks like 176,000, and then 0, and then 0. And then it picks back up with 6,000, 3,000. And what she says is, it's official. TikTok is greatly suppressing, if not straight up allowing any certain language to be seen on the internet. Now, there was a thing, and there is a thing, I know this for a fact, called shadow banning. And what you do when you shadow ban somebody, and it's an actual term, is you don't want somebody, like, if I don't like the comments that and I love you, Jag, so I'm using you as an example. If I don't like what Jag is putting on the thread, but it's kind of illegal because I own all of YouTube to delete her account, what I would do is I would shadow ban her. Her account would look the same when she logged on. Her YouTube would look the same, but she'd be like, I get like 500 views on every post, and this one has 11. And you can't say that your account's not there, but you're like, my traffic is way, way down. And what they do with shadow banning is they make it so that only the people that look you up and want to see that content will see it. So that decreases the number by clearly 90%, and sometimes in this case is 100. And what she has, I don't know what the other video was about because it just had 0 and it's just her face. But on another one of the videos that has 0, it says details about Peretti government shutdown and when MAGA thought America was great. Interesting. What words do y'all think got her banned? Just going off that, because I think maybe anything. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right, Jag. I thought China was spying on us. What they do with that? Where that at? I thought China was the oppressive regime. I wonder, because there's two things. Obviously, you can go Alex Peretti, but there are already so many videos about that. If you blocked any video about Alex Peretti, there would be an uproar, and rightfully so. I think they're getting ahead of this government shutdown and also this planned mass general strike that they've been kind of test casing in Minneapolis and Minnesota, and they want to put countrywide. Don't get it confused. When all of those major corporations wrote that letter to the government saying, settle down, Jack, that's a letter they did read. They don't read letters from us. But when the people, the corporations that fund their horrible operations start saying, hey, we had to cancel a Minnesota Timberwolves game 2 weeks ago, which they did. We can't be doing that, Jack. That's when this government bends the knee, because everybody can talk about their racism or immigrants. This is a capitalist nation. When you start messing with the money, we got a problem, honey. And so they don't want people, especially across the world, across this country, realizing that they are going to try and organize a general strike. And think about which of all the social medias would be used to spread this information 6 months ago, a year ago. TikTok, which used to be a progressive platform. So there's a reason that a year and a half ago, they were like, oh, we just thought about it. China is all up in y'all TikTok and we can't have that, yo. So we're going to have to buy it. They saw this coming. They saw the way TikTok, remember when TikTok got together and all those K-pop fans, this is Trump 1.0, bought all, went and I don't know if they bought all the tickets to like a Trump fun tour, when he used to go around and just speaking tour when he was doing that. And they bought all, and then no one showed up. And he got off that plane looking like he just got cleaned out in a card game. It's a famous picture of Trump because he didn't have a tie on. He just got his ass kicked. And I think they realize that TikTok is too powerful. Young people use it. Young progressive people use it. And also the demographic that does not agree with their policy the most. People that are younger millennials, and then everybody underneath that uses that platform almost exclusively. And they got ahead of that a year ahead of time, because now TikTok ain't nothing. TikTok is nothing. And they adjusted your For You page. So when you go, hey, I've been looking at Friends from Work, I love to see what Tori has to say. It's not there when you go to look for it. And I'm sure there is some hot chicken Daisy Dukes like, I'm going to tell you why I support the president. I bet you that's on your For You page now. I digress. C-Dog says no King's March. No King's March coming this March. March the 3rd. Okay. That was a very difficult. And yet, John, Did you hear what I said about Democrats? Democrats are not my friend. They're not your friend. They have done nothing, and they all jumped on that bill as well. Democrats are just as complicit. I don't know if we have the luxury of voting them out of office this go around because it's such a serious midterm, but it's like you know, like remember when you be out with your parents and you be acting a fool, and your parents, you knew your parents couldn't do anything because y'all were at church or like at an event, and your parents would be like, "We'll see you when you get home." I think that's how we are with the Hakeem Jeffries, Cory Booker's, Chuck Schumer's. Right now, we're at an event, and you know we can't do nothing. But bro, we're coming for you in the converse. That's not a physical threat. Don't even try and get this taken down. We're gonna vote you out, and we'll make sure every book tour that you go on, anything that you try and transition to, will fail. So I hope you're making as much money as you can now, because you're making it off the backs of real Americans. And I'm talking strictly to Democrats. The Republicans, I don't expect nothing from them. But y'all, come on, my dude, at least put up a better fight than what are y'all doing? Come on. WWE at least puts a guy in there that looks like he can win. We know he's not going to beat the champ, but it looks like, hey, that guy got muscles. He got a chance. He doesn't. And neither do we with these Democrats, but we do have a chance if we all come together, colleagues. So let's continue to do that. I went super long today, but there's lots to go on. I absolutely love you guys for hanging with me for this Blab Fest. One of these days, I wish I'm like, not to report. There's still 5 things here, including Target not getting the message and Bill Belichick not getting a first ballot Hall of Fame. We're going to talk about that tomorrow because I want to talk to Tori about that because I think that was, thank you, Brandon. Smash the like button. John, thank you. I had a pleasure doing the show. Guys, let's all stick together as colleagues. Remember to like and subscribe, and please tell a friend. And y'all, we're going to get through this. I promise you that. So on behalf of Friends from Work, we out.